Welcome back to Empowered and Out, the LGBTQ plus career coaching podcast, the podcast where we help LGBTQ plus professionals reclaim purpose, confidence, and joy in their careers. I'm your host, Jonathan, and today we're diving into a conversation that's going to hit home for anyone who's ever felt stuck, burned out, or boxed in by traditional career paths. Today I'm sitting down with someone who's on a mission to make kindness more than a buzzword. It's about making it a standard in the workplace. Jamie Graceffa is the founder of Kind Cards, an author, speaker, facilitator, thought leader, and HR executive with deep expertise in learning, talent, inclusion, and culture. He's also the author of Career Control, and his work helps people see kindness not as a fluffy extra, but as a strategic driver for engagement, retention, and success. What I love about Jamie's approach is that he's not just talking about kindness in theory. He's showing companies how to weave it into the way they operate every single day. And on top of all of that, Jamie brings his personal journey into the conversation, from embracing how being gay has been a gift and connecting with others, to proving that when you set a true intention, the universe has a way of showing up to meet you. So if you're a longtime listener or tuning in for the first time, I am so glad you're here. And Jamie, welcome to Empowered and Out. I'm so glad that you are here.
Thank you, Jonathan. I appreciate that. Thank you for the warm welcome. And hello, listeners.
All right. Well, let's start off talking about why kindness at work matters. Why do you think kindness looks and feels so different in the workplace compared to our personal lives?
This is so interesting to me because in our personal lives, we love kindness. We watch the videos, we share the videos, we love the memes, we have the bumper stickers, the mugs, the t-shirts, we love it. But when we kind of focus that lens to kindness in the workplace, it lands differently. And I've seen it over and over again.
Yeah.
And I ask leaders why, because when I talk about being kinder at work, I get this, the eye rolls, the arms. I'm like, okay, let's go down. And what has emerged from these conversations is that it is maybe weak, it is fluffy, it is squishy, it's being nice. And I say nice and kind is different. So I really have to work with these groups. And I don't mind this at all, Jonathan. So when they're like questioning me, that means they're engaged and they're listening and they're open. And we really need to level set on what kindness at work is and what it's not. So we go from fluffy to like, let's talk. And those were real words. Someone used fluffy. I kind of like the word fluffy, but they use fluffy, not in the kindness standpoint, but fluffy is cute. But we really have to level set on what it is and what it is not. And then that's where the real conversation happens.
Do you think I would say kindness, let's start that over. Do you think kindness looks different um, because of workplace culture, or are we taught somewhere along the way to tone down kindness at work?
I think it looks different because of culture. But when you unpack culture, what is culture? Why can you have one employee experience one cube over from somebody 3 feet away, or one floor above, one floor below? And culture, simply defined, is the personality of the organization. But what makes up the personality of the organization but people? And the people come to work and they bring their personalities with them, and they come with a whole history of who they are. And some people think of kindness differently than others. Just maybe they just say, hey, work is work, personal life is personal life. And I think that when you get these collections of people together, some people are better at kindness than others. And I think it's a skill set, and there's no shame there. Some people just are naturally better at it. So why it is, I'm sorry, I completely lost the question.
It is all good. Do you think, I'm sorry, do you think oh my goodness, this is hilarious. This will be good for extra.
I'm glad it's not just me, but I was like, we talked about the culture and why, yes, I'm so sorry.
It is all good. Do you think, obviously you said you think it's the culture, and I asked if it was, are we taught somewhere along the way to tone down kindness at work?
Yeah. Yes. So I think what makes up culture, and it is so hard to define what culture is, because you can have one culture experience, employee experience, one cube over from the other. right? So it's why is that? And it's because of the people we work with. And some people have just a different understanding about what work looks like and what your personal life looks like. So I don't know if it's just a word that I think people don't use for various reasons, because if you feel like if you have to be kind at work, that means to some people, I can't correct your behavior. Or if I hear something that I don't agree with, I can't say it because we're kind. We're trying to be kind. Or if you see somebody not getting the credit that they deserve, you kind of don't say it because you don't want to rock the boat. It's none of that. So I think we have to change the way we think about what kindness looks like at work. It's none of that. What it is I have direct feedback for you and I'm going to give it to you, but I'm going to do it with support, or I'm going to give you some clarity with kindness. Being kinder at work doesn't mean I'm going to withhold my opinion. It doesn't mean I'm not going to argue my point. And it doesn't mean I'm going to tolerate poor performance. It's all the manner in which those conversations are done. You can be direct. You can argue your point. You can correct behavior, but you can do it in a respectful manner. And I think that's what happens, Jonathan. People think, oh, we're nice. We can't do those things. It's actually not nice to do that. And I think of nice and kind as different. So nice means like,
Mhm.
I saw this yesterday, but I don't want to tell them. I'll tell everybody else but them, but I won't tell them. Being kind is saying, hey, Jonathan, listen, I just want to talk about the meeting we had yesterday. How do you think it went? I have some feedback. I think we could do this differently. How can I help you? That's being kind. So I think people need to level set on what it is and what it's not. And I think when you realize what it is, because everybody wants it, Jonathan, everybody wants to be treated well. They want it to be treated with kindness, even if they don't name it. I was talking to a friend of mine who works in construction. He's like, kindness, we don't do kindness. I'd get thrown off the roof if I said we got to be kind. I said, I understand that, and it lands differently there. But what it means is if somebody's going to be late, you don't bust their chops. Be like, oh, I can't believe it. It's like, yeah, no problem. Or if someone has to leave early, say, sure, go ahead, do what you need to do. That's what people want. It's all kindness, and we just have to understand really what it is, what it's not, and what it looks like at your particular organization, which would maybe my company is different than a construction during a restaurant, etc.
It's very interesting how you broke that down because you're right. It's going to be different from whatever type of industry you work at, number one. But also, I think that kindness in general, I think the way that we perceive it probably might be because of how we were brought up and
Yes.
how we see those around us, and that we may not want to. I wouldn't say we don't want to be kind in the workplace. I think some of it becomes, I like your example, right? You just gave is, oh, if someone's going to be late, you don't ridicule for them. You say, okay, great. Well, maybe not, okay, great, but okay, thanks for letting me know. I think you probably not, I don't consider probably anyone is ever going to say, okay, that's great. You're going to be
No,
late.
no,
Yeah,
right,
no one's going to say that. But I think when you really take a step back and make sure what you're saying is kind instead of, I don't want to say attacking someone. That's not a good word for it. Just not using the right verbiage when you are dealing with an employee or coworker, whoever it might be. I think then the relationship you probably have as well is going to be better. It's
right.
not going to be, you're not going to, as you know, there are a lot of times employees sometimes have a fear of in a way of who they're from their direct report.
Hmm.
Or it's funny I say this, but sometimes we fear those in HR
Right.
because but I feel that if we're using kindness in the right way and across the board, and I would say it has to happen from the top down. Everyone needs to show this. And I know that sometimes people don't like change, but
Hmm.
I also believe that making a change of just showing how kindness can be effective in the workplace and effective with your teams overall, I would say the work morale is going to be skyrocketing probably because of it. Because when you're using it in the right way, everyone's probably going to be, I mean, we all have bad days. Everyone has bad days.
Right.
But I feel that it's how we react and how we're treated when we have those potential bad days that
Yeah.
is going to make a difference in how we even enjoy coming into the office, or depends on how everyone's working right now, but clicking on the computer or logging in, so, but yeah.
You are so right about that. And a few things like because you said so many great things. And yes, nobody loves when somebody's going to be late, right? And if it's chronic, you have to address it, but if it's a one-off, extend a little bit of grace. And you're right, you don't know the history of a human being that works alongside you or teams is into you or zooms in with you because it's human beings that come to work, not job titles, right? And maybe kindness looked very different at their place or it wasn't there at all. We just don't know. And that's why I refer to it as a skill set. You can develop it and enhance it. You are so right about change. We're going through change right now at work. And we talked to a group of people and said, it's going to be messy, right? We're going to step into it with each other once in a while. So do a few things. Give your colleagues the benefit of the doubt, right? Have patience, extend grace. And when you step into it with another colleague, because it's not if, it's when, circle back and fix it and make it right. And that can actually strengthen a relationship. The other thing that you said that was really important is what we kind of all want at work. And it doesn't matter what your background is. What every human being wants, every employee who are human beings, we want to be seen, we want to be heard, valued, and we want to feel like we matter. Now, that can look different for depending on who you are and how you're made up, but it's a human want. And the biggest driver of the employee experience of a positive work culture is enlarged by how we are treated by the people we work for and with. Now, I'm not saying compensation isn't important and the job should be interesting and you should be developed, but the biggest driver of a positive employee experience, regardless of where you work, construction, libraries, biotech, whatever, it is how we are treated by the people we work for and with. And what that looks like is kindness. It is kind to give the benefit of the doubt. Benefit of the doubt. It is kind to listen to somebody authentically and genuinely, phones down, talk to me. What's going on? How can I help you? All maps to kindness. All the company values that we have, the headlines for company values. What makes those come to life, what enables company values are acts of kindness. Because one of them could be we need to make sure we service our customers the best we can. Well, what does that take? It takes collaboration and teamwork and innovation and information sharing. And you're not going to do that if people don't feel like they get along. I'm going to work around you rather than with you because there's not a baseline of kindness. So we're not serving the customer as best we can because we're not talking. We're not making it even better. So you're so right. There's a whole host of reasons why we should be kinder at work. Take perfection off your shoulders. If we can be kinder and more aware, you're going in the right direction.
All right. So you touched on this a little bit. We talked about what kindness is and maybe what it is not. Can you share what you mean by that?
Yes. So some of it came up already. It's kindness is okay. I get an email from Jonathan. Jonathan sends me an email. I can tell he's been pounding the keys because it's coming across strong. Right? And I'm in my
Hey, in my defense,
yes.
that's what I used to do. I will tell you now that it does not happen. I've learned from my experience. I've learned from leadership training that I actually took. Hold up, take a
Mhm,
pause, think
mhm.
about what you want to say, and keep thinking a little bit more about what you want to say. Maybe type it out, rewrite it, do a few times. But anyways,
Got
yeah,
it.
go ahead. Yeah, that's
Yes,
how I am now. But no, 100%. I used to be like, boom, 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 send.
I took the same class, I think. Yes. I'm like, so I still have to be like, okay. So yes, I get an email. And my first reaction is I'm going to meet that energy in which I received it. I'm going to bang my keyboard back. But if we give the benefit of the doubt, that's an act of kindness. Maybe Jonathan, that's not really like Jonathan. Maybe he's having a bad day. I'm going to answer the email and maybe I'm going to check in with him afterwards, right? That's a kind act. When you're in a meeting and you feel like the people with the loudest voices or the bigger personalities are speaking up, or maybe with executive titles or senior titles, but not everybody gets a chance. It's saying, hey, let's make sure we hear from everybody, making sure all voices are heard. We talked about benefit of the doubt, extending grace. So here's one of my favorite ones, and it's so easy. When we have a new person join the company, we all get those emails. We want to welcome Jonathan. He comes to us with X number of experience. Join me in helping welcome Jonathan. Most people delete it, right? And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to respond and say, hey, Jonathan, welcome to the team. Happy to have you here. Look forward to catching up. That line or two will make Jonathan like, okay, feel seen and feel like, he is welcomed here. And I think it's those small things of what kindness is. Now, what kindness is not, we touched on this. It's like, I don't agree with you and I have new information or different information from yours, and I feel comfortable enough to share it with you. And that's another part, psychological safety, right? Absolutely maps to psychological safety. If you're kinder to each other, if you give people the benefit of the doubt, you go easy, you have patience, don't sweat the small stuff. You feel comfortable speaking up. So it is kind to create that space for people. So kindness is doing all of those things, and kindness is not dimming yourself, withholding, seeing something, at the airport, when you see something, say something. Well, it's at work. If you see something, say something. It's not unkind to say, hey, this isn't right. Or actually, I know the story about that person. And that's not how I hear it. Defend somebody. So it's really all boils down to how we do these things, how we
Mhm.
do them that matters. And you can't control much at work. I realize this after almost 30 years in the business. But what you can control is how you respond, how you react, and how you move through your workday. You're not going to be perfect. So anybody who's listening, I'm not perfect. I get asked sometimes, are you always kind? I'm like, no, I'm not. You should see me in traffic. I said, but I'm kinder, much kinder. If like someone cuts me off, I'm not happy. But I am much kinder and I'm more aware. And I circle back and fix it when I step into it because I do and I will.
I love that description because one of the things that I have found when I was, now it's a little bit different now, but when I was getting frustrated and almost like, you know, pounding out the keys, wanting to send a message. Now, a lot of times, my sister, who is an executive at a company, she'll be like, do you think you should say it that way? Or maybe let's take a break. Let's take a step back. And I remember even having the conversation with her after you and I first spoke. And being an executive, she was like, oh my gosh, that would be amazing. We definitely need to implement this. And I wanted to, and actually, even more so now, I'm going to say to her, well, if you do anything, implement it on your team because you
Mm-hmm.
do have people that report to you. And I think overall, it's going to help them see you in a different light, better, probably. I
Mm-hmm.
hope. Let's hope.
Right.
But yeah, I think that I like that obviously, yeah, everyone's gonna have a bad day. But also, like, I liked how you said, no one's perfect. Nobody's going to be perfect. Not even the CEO of the company, not even all the C-level executives. We all have flaws. It's how we respond to those things around us and how we respond to things that might happen. Like you said, with your kind of like changes occurring, well, it's how you react to it and how you share that and how you saying change is coming. Like I got used to many years ago in a company I worked for. I remember my boss saying, okay, well, I hope you like change because this company does a lot of changes. I've been with the company a while. They do changes. If you don't embrace change, you were never going to succeed. And I was like, all right, that's good advice. And I took that to heart because knowing then many years later, working at multiple companies since then, I have seen when companies, things are changing, this is going to happen. And I've learned to kind of take a step back and go, all right, take a deep breath. All right, change is happening. It's probably for the better. Now, not always. Sometimes software updates and everything happen.
Mm-hmm.
And the people that make those aren't really the people who are doing the work on those programs,
Right.
but I think overall, yeah, the kindness aspect is so strong. It's so important. Going into uh, talking about kindness, some leaders think kindness, we've said this a little bit, is soft. How do you connect kindness to hard business outcomes like finance, retention, and
Oh,
engagement?
I love that. I love that because Jonathan, sometimes that's how I reach people. If they don't get it for whatever, however they're wired, and there is no shame there. We're all made the way we're made. Some people get it. Kindness, got it. I'm a kind person. I can do it. The other person's like, I have to hit their language, which is sometimes numbers, bottom line. In companies, spend, I actually have the stats here because I knew we were going to talk about this, up to $100 billion on engagement. Now that means the surveys, the and then whatever the survey suggesting, we need development, all the development programs, everything, all the retention, other retention initiatives like total rewards and compensation, all of that. So it's all of that. So they spend a lot of money when the engagement survey comes out to launch it and then fix it. Oh, we need this, we need that. But then it just starts to taper off. We get gung ho and we have the greatest intention. And I think people truly do have the best intention to keep things going, but then work happens, right? Change happens, like you mentioned, or there's lots of things going on in the industry or in the economy, and things change. So we spend so much money on that, and it tapers off. Now, what happens when you are in a workplace that is chronically unkind? It's just the culture is consistently negative. You will have people that stop collaborating, right? So they're not innovating. They're not working with each other. They're working around each other. They're doing the minimum. They feel like the company owes me. Like you're not doing anything for me. So that whole term, silently or quietly quitting, right? They're
Hmm.
looking for other jobs. They're not there, or your top people will go. And the cost that it takes, not just the dollar cost, but all the history and knowledge goes out the door. You invest in a lot in these employees, and then they take that and they go somewhere else. And then to have to bring them and hire them back. And then the people that are left behind, it's all this ripple effect of retention and engagement. Because if you have people at the company who are not engaged and not happy, are they really going to work and perform the way they would at another company that appreciates them, that is kind to them, that values them? So there is a lot of financial reasons why we need to create a culture where we are kinder to each other. And I always say it's the right thing to do. But some people are like, you got to show me the dollars. And you just look at retention dollars and the dollars you spend to keep people. And if you still don't, it's dollars out the window.
So, have you ever had a moment with a leader where the data or the results completely changed their mind?
Yes, yes. We had an employee engagement survey. I'll just disclose my own company. And we launched one probably 2 years after the initial one because there was a change in leadership. And we got some feedback. It was about maybe inclusion. We could have upped it a little bit, development and trust in senior leaders. And we all worked really hard. We have a great HR team, great senior leadership team, great ELT. They really value what this information has. I mean, there could be, when you trickle down, there could be some resistors or some people who think it's a nice to have and not a must have when we have to get things out the door. But when we got our survey back a year later, those numbers did go up. They did go up significantly. I don't have them in front of me, but they did go up. The other thing is we look at top performers or high potentials. And that list, the turnover there was much less than it used to be. So the people, I mean, everybody is talent, but the people that we have on succession plans that we're looking to put in some other roles, they're staying because they're being developed and they are being treated better or differently than before. Again, we're not perfect, but we also work really hard to make sure that happens. I can give you a couple of examples. In all of our learning labs, which we have, there's always a slide called kindness at work, kindness in motion. It doesn't matter if we're talking about change management, ambiguity, leadership 101. There's always a slide that says, hey, here's a reminder of how we work together. We also changed our performance management process from just what you do to what and how you do it. Right?
Oh.
So 50% of your merit is on what you achieved. Did you hit your goals or not? And the other 50% is how you did it. Were you collaborative? Were you kind? Were you inclusive? And that takes work. So when people with good intentions put all that money into surveys and measuring the culture, it doesn't stop there with a survey. You've got to do the work. You got to keep it going and remind people how we treat each other matters. And yeah, so I've had people who were like, wow, okay, got it. And people want their engagement scores because you know how it works. Each group gets their own, each leader gets their own if they have, 7 people or more answering, and you don't want to be the one that has the lower scores. So yeah, I think the data speaks for itself. And sometimes kindness is hard to measure until you get to some of these surveys or these focus groups, or just, hey, the team, I can see it. I think that group is performing better than they used to. They seem happier. They're talking now. That's new. You don't even need a survey to see that. So yes. I work with a lot of scientists and a lot of engineers, so data matters. So I was so excited to be like, look. So yeah, definitely.
Nice. I like that. And excuse me. You said something that actually like made me like smile because hearing that you actually listened to the result, you saw the results, you saw the data. Okay, we need to make these changes or these change, and really seeing what the employees were saying. Oh, obviously, like we know, and I'm sure everyone, many people on here listening will hear the same thing. There are obviously always going to be people who are going to be that negative Nancy. They're always going to have the negativity no matter what. But I feel that when you are showing, and not just showing but taking the action on the kindness and showing where you can improve, I think overall, especially because if you're making it part of the performance,
Oh yeah.
yeah, I would be 100% making sure that I would be integrating that into every single thing I did. And I love hearing the collaboration. It's funny that until the very last company that I worked for, it was never really about collaboration. Nobody ever talked about wanting to collaborate. And I found it, and if you had to collaborate, it was you had to,
Hmm.
where you got the opportunity to collaborate. And even if your answer wasn't something that they were going to move forward with, they still listened to it. They still listened to what you had to say.
Right.
I think that was very evident even when we did something as simple as our pride planning for the Pride Festival that year, like our parade float and everything, what we did. And we had some insane, crazy ideas. There's definitely some people that we kind of looked at them and were like, wait, what? What did you say? I know we have a decent budget, but what? So it
Um,
was just, we didn't know what to do. I mean, people, oh my goodness. And that came, I guess some of it, we had engineers, we had marketing, we had development. We had so many different groups that people were coming from. So it made sense why everything was kind of a little bit out there on some of the
yeah.
ideas. But I love that everyone had a voice at the table. We all had the voice to say what we liked or didn't like, or maybe we should try this, or maybe not try this. And I think that the collaboration part of it is huge. And I think that when employees get to collaborate in their roles and they can see the potential for the results, I think it's huge. I think it's going to help instill in them to even more so be more kind in the
Hmm.
workplace, in that work culture. And hopefully it pours over into their personal lives as well.
I love what you said because even with change, we talked about change earlier, and I worked in change management. I've got a lot of experience there, and people want to be heard and listened to. And what you said just totally resonated with me because some people are afraid if they listen, they have to do whatever is being told to them or suggested. So they kind of sometimes shut the door. That's not what it is at all. In a time of change or a time where we're planning a celebration, and when you hear everybody, everybody gets a voice, and you don't do or enact on everything that's being heard, at least they were listened to. People seem to be cool with, okay, at least I was heard, I got my ideas out, and maybe we went with two of them and not eight of them. And I think that's huge because we can also say, hey, listen, these two work for various reasons why. And not everybody is going to get it, but we at least have to listen to it. So we're going through a lot of change now. And what's missing is some of the touch points because we're looking at the technical and the physical part of change. We're moving equipment, we're moving technology, but there are human beings that are moving too. I said we have to check in with them. I said you just need three questions. You don't have to have an agenda. You don't even have to have all the answers you think you're going to get. You're like, I want to gather you together. There's a lot of change. How are you all doing? What questions do you have? And how can I help you? That's it. And if you don't have the answers to the questions, find them and make sure you circle back and give that group of people the information they know. They may have some ideas or suggestions that you can't do, but at least you heard them and you listened to them and you authentically had it. And I think that's the part. And now, again, it goes back to creating the space to create and hold the space where people feel they can speak up takes psychological safety. It takes people to know that they can speak up and they're not going to be ridiculed or they're not going to be side eyed because you gave them this crazy idea. No. And I even say to managers like when you're doing a stay interview, right? When you want people to stay here before they just say, what would it take for me to keep you here and what interests you? And I can't do everything, but keep talking because I'm going to listen until there's something I can do, right? So there's power in just being asked and just being heard. It doesn't mean you have to do the 10 things that people tell you. So I love that you actually had that kind of environment. That makes me happy to see there are companies that do that and do it well, especially on a pride topic. Those can be fun. I'm on a few of those committees myself.
All right. So we're going to change a little bit of an order of the questions, just so you
Okay.
know,
All right.
because I feel like the one that I was about to ask you is going to fit better near the end. Just
Sure.
so let's talk about your personal story, being gay as a gift. You've
hmm
shared that being gay has been a gift in how you connect with people who are different. How has
hmm
that shaped your approach to kindness and inclusion?
That even to hear it out loud, it just gets emotional that I think of being gay now as a gift because I can assure you I certainly didn't feel that way growing up. So, like all of us, we have our story. And I think what unites our community is we may not know each other, but we have ideas of what it may have been like. You come to a realization that you're different, who you are. And then there's like, what is it? Will it go away? Then you got to tell people. So we all kind of have that connection. So early on, I knew I was different, did not have the language, did not know what it was. I knew when my friends were talking about Charlie's Angels and which angel they wanted to date, I was thinking about the $6 million man, right? And why? I don't know. I just knew I was. Now I know, still handsome. So, and I just felt different. And for some reason, at a very young age, I was aware of people who were different. Now, it's hard to define that. It's so I would at a young age. So I just, I didn't know about religions and stuff like that, but I knew people who looked different. So if there was a African American person, kid, my age, I would try to check in with them and be friends with them because I felt that they must feel different too, because there was not a lot of black kids at my school. And, you don't wear gay sometimes the way, you color your skin or some other things where people can pass if you're not feeling safe in a place.
Mhm.
So it made me sensitive to people who were different than I was. And then that just grew and it gave me a sensitivity. I started watching out for people more. I was like going to stores or on buses and I would just say, just as aware. I wasn't going on there looking for anything. I was just aware and make sure that people feel like, hey, I see you and I've got you. And I'm so grateful for that because it just makes me a better human being. I'm still looking out for anybody that will feel different or others. And that could include a straight white man who I see kind of off to themselves at an event or at a party. And I try to go over there and be like, hey, how are you doing? Or if it's at a work event, I'll introduce myself. So I'm keenly aware that anybody who's othered could be anybody. Doesn't matter your gender, your ethnicity, your religion. You can just feel like an outsider. And I think it's just made me more sensitive to that. And I have seen the reaction when people feel seen and heard and feel like they're not the only one. And people have done it to me. Like where people figured out I was gay and I remember I was at a new company and this woman, Judy, who figured out I was gay. She had gay friends all her life, and we had a holiday party. And then we went into my office afterwards. We had a beer in there because there was alcohol there. So she's like, "So tell me," she's like, are you seeing any men? Are you seeing you got a boyfriend or something like that? It was like the most natural, like she would say if she was with a girlfriend, saying, "Hey, you dating any guys?" And I was like, okay, you see me, you really, really see me, and we're still friends. We still talk about that. So I think it's just given me this ability to see people, and also when people are in pain, some people they just come across or present angry or negative, and instead of being turned off by it or just like I try to just see maybe they're in a place of pain and a little compassion, a little empathy, a little kindness can go a long way. So I wouldn't have changed a thing. And I am who I am. And it has just made me much more sensitive to other people who feel left out, othered, overlooked, missed, littled, you name it. So again, I'm not perfect at it. There are days I just want to watch Netflix and not see anybody. But when I'm in a group of people, I scan the room and I try to see. if everybody's okay.
I like that. I like that you said that it's not just it's everyone.
It's
It's everyone that could be having a bad day, could be feeling just flustered, upset. I mean, we all have different issues. I mean, I don't know if I can't remember if I shared with you or not in our previous chat, but like I worked in the funeral business. We
Mm,
dealt with people coming in every single day who had lost a loved one. And I could tell, and I'm a pretty good read of people. I can see people's body language. I can see, if they're happy, sad, frustrated. I think that also helped years earlier when I was a server at a restaurant. I could walk up to a table and I'd be like, okay, they're not in a good mood, but we're going to go with this. But then, like, yeah, seeing with people, like, I could tell, hey, I'm so sorry. The empathy was, huge. I think that it is a gift because I feel that my empathy overall has grown
mhm.
because of kind of like being gay, like as a gift. Number one, I feel like I can see any situation I'm in. I can tell someone's just either even I can tell that they might actually want to be talking, but they may not be the one who wants to start the conversation. But I've also seen where right off the bat, they're like chatting away. And it's like, okay. But in the end, that's what they needed. That's
Mhm.
what they needed was someone to listen. And I think when you can share the kindness with everyone and anyone, it doesn't matter. Everyone at some point probably wants someone just to listen. And when we're able to put these down
Mhm.
and actually listen and have a conversation. Sorry for those listening.
Yeah. You bring
I
the big
just
talk.
realized some of those who are viewing this obviously saw what I just did. I picked up
Yeah.
my cell phone and said, when we put it down and we actually have a conversation, it's going to be more impactful. It's going to be more enjoyable. So going with the kindness, has there ever been a time, and you kind of touched on this a little bit, we'll see if you might have another example, when your identity helped you see something others in the room might have missed?
That's a great question. I think yes, and I think it's usually when somebody is struggling with their own identity, where somebody is saying, actually, this has come up quite a bit, where someone is either their child or their niece or their nephew. They're talking about their niece or nephew or child, and they think that maybe there might be some identity things there. And I will say, so this is indirect, and I'll give you a direct. I said, you know what, the best way to create a space where someone will be more likely to come out to you is talk positively about gay people. If you have a gay friend, mention that. Just in passing, be like, oh my God, Jonathan, I was just talking to my friend Jamie and his husband Rob, it was really great to see them. Just putting in passing like that. And then there are times where I can see people struggling and they're either in so much pain or it's so confusing they can't name it, but in
Mm.
conversations I can help them name it, whether it's a sexual identity or it's something else that is with their own relationships with other people. Something is gnawing at them, it just keeps spinning, and they dismiss it and they dismiss it. So I can be like, well, maybe it's not a fleeting thought, maybe it's something that's real. Because whether you're gay or you're struggling with that identity or anything else, I think how we process it is similar. Denial, then it comes back. So I think when I see people maybe spinning or processing similarly than that when I did earlier or in previous relationships, I'm like, it's not working. I know it's working. Every relationship has its issues. And I think that just helps me tune in a little bit and be like, hey, so what are you thinking? And well, let's explore it if that's a possibility. Like, why do you think that is? And then the signs are right there. And I'm like, oh, and then they almost get it, the realization. And I think you, as a coach, this. You can't say, you should try this, you should try that. Be like, what do you think you can do? Leading them themselves to
Mhm.
the solution. But I think I do have a keener eye when someone's maybe struggling a little bit more than other people would be tuned in and be like, oh, they're just having a bad day. It's like, oh, maybe not, maybe so, but maybe not. So yeah, I think it's given me that spidey sense. And we just wanted to hit on something because you reminded me of something earlier about just kindness and how it works. I feel like we're at a kindness deficit because I wanted to share this because you're talking about kindness outside of work a little bit. I was at BJ's wholesale probably a year and a half ago. And you know how they have the little food places? This woman was working behind it, a little bit older, and she was giving away pomegranate seeds in little cups. And a older woman who was struggling a little bit to walk, got some, and then she dropped them. And she felt embarrassed, and and I also know that she was thinking, how am I going to pick these up? So I went to the woman behind the counter. I said, can I have some napkins? I want to help her. And I went to the woman. I go, I've got them. I've got them. And both women were saying, you were so sweet. You were so kind. And I'm like, well, of course. I said, you're welcome. They're like, God bless you. And I'm like, and I said to them, aren't we here to help one another? That's what we're here for. And she said, we are, but so many people don't.
Mhm.
And that just struck a chord with me. People shouldn't be that shocked when someone extends an act of kindness to another person, right? So there is a deficit. And I think sometimes we see something that someone's done well at where I'm going to go to work for a second. There are lots of times where in a meeting we're like, oh, Jonathan really presented that well. And that's where it starts and stops. Go the extra mile, or actually 300 feet. Like, Jonathan, by the way, you killed it in that meeting. Loved it. Way to go. So just if it comes to mind, just bring it from here out of your mouth or out of your keyboards and thank somebody or show somebody that you saw them. So there is like goes back to our original conversation. We love kindness. We see the memes. There's a science to kindness. There's like the oxytocin goes up when we see it. That's why we get all the good fuzzies when we see a really kind video. But why are we still in such a deficit? Like when I'm at BJ's, I'm helping an older person out. Why is everybody just shocked at that? Should be like, that's nice.
Yeah. It's that taking the action. It's just showing, it's something like you and I even said this initially in our initial conversation we had. Kindness, it's so simple. We should all be doing it every single day in every environment we're in, like
Mm.
showing the kindness. There's no reason. It shouldn't be a shock that
No.
you got down to help that, wanted to help that lady out. That's just kindness. It's as simple
Hmm.
as opening a door when you're going someplace and someone is coming out. You can, open the door before, let them out, or if someone happens to be behind you that might be disabled, for instance, open the door for them and let them
Hmm.
in. There's nothing wrong with that, because at some point it's very possible that you might be in a situation where you need that extra help. And
Right.
if you've been showing these acts of kindness all the time, you're more likely to have someone give it right back and share it right back with you. Because if you're always grumpy, 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 nasty, 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 people are probably going to stay a little bit away from you.
Hmm.
And obviously, you definitely don't want to be that way in the workplace, because you're probably going to have a hard time sticking around for in the work environment. A lot of people, your direct reports, your management, everyone is going to see how you are. But like you and I were just mentioning, we can probably see, okay, what's really going on?
Yeah.
What's really happening?
Hmm.
Because when everyone has bad days, but it's the people that reach out to share, to show that kindness, to really the kindness, the empathy, to say, okay, what's really going on? If you want to chat about it, or hey, this is, I know a lot's been happening at work, is this affecting you at home, whatever, something where someone, because a lot of times I've seen in the past, people aren't very good about hiding their emotions when something is very strongly affecting them, especially at home. When you come into the workplace, it's hard to hide it.
Sure.
And I feel that when we show and actually take the action to use to be kind, we're going to see people are going to want to come to you. They're going to want to, you're going to be like a magnet. People are going to come to you because of that kindness, because you showed that you cared, that you wanted to actually listen. So,
No, you're right. You're so right about that. And there is you talked about kindness. It's kind of can be infectious, right? When someone's kind, they give it back. I remember when this is not in work. I was going to a Dunkin' Donuts. I had my mom in the car. She wanted a coffee, and this happened to be off a busy road. And there was a line already going to the drive-through, and there was a truck trying to come in from the main road to the drive-through. And I just let him in. because, yep, I'm like, yeah, you're going to get your drink before me, but I don't care. You need to come in. I would want somebody to let me in. He paid for whatever we got afterwards. Like
Oh,
because they
wow.
already knew our order, so we were waiting for it at that
Yeah.
point. He paid for it, and we just gave a honk and a wave, and it made my day. It was just one of those things. And kindness can be also a way to diffuse a situation. So I remember this happens a lot. So you're talking about being kinder in our normal life, like hold the door for people. If somebody has their signal on and they want to get in, don't speed up. Like let them in. Just like let them in. But sometimes this has happened. If I move in and I'm a little abrupt, you can see one of two things happen. Someone gets so mad that you cut them off, they will speed up and ride you, right? But if you
Hmm.
just wave them like, I'm sorry, thanks for letting me in, they let up. It happens for all your listeners. I'm not saying you should cut people off, but if you have to get to an exit, wave thanks, and the person behind you will be like, okay, I get it. So
Isn't that funny that how that works? Because yeah, if you all of a sudden and you wave, they're like, oh, okay.
exactly. Yeah,
But
we
yeah,
all do it.
if you just cut them off and do nothing, yeah, they're right on your tail. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And so yeah, again, simple listeners,
Simple acts
simple,
of
simple.
kindness. It is, but but you're right, it comes to the workplace. It doesn't have to be hard. It's saying hello, how was your weekend? Starting a meeting off instead of getting right to the agenda. How's everybody's weekend? Everybody good? Great. What's going on? Or acknowledging, I love what you said, just bring it to action. We just take it and go the next step. And it really costs nothing. Now we sound like a t-shirt. Kindness costs nothing, but it really doesn't. It doesn't cost anything. It feels good. We know what it's like when people are not kind to us. And
Yeah,
we know what it feels like when someone shows kindness to us, and we see the reaction when we're kind to other people. So why do we not do more of it?
I agree. So we're going to talk about the power of intention.
Mm,
You've said that when you set an intention, the world and even the universe works with you to make it happen. Can
yes,
you share a time when you saw that in action?
absolutely. I actually wrote about this in my first book, and I was doing The Secret before Secret became a thing. I was just a visualizer. I would have, you know how people used to sing into their hairbrush because they thought they were rock stars? I would imitate myself having an interview with Oprah Winfrey. And I'm like, well, Oprah and Gail, because usually she was in the room, and I would have a full on conversation and I would just visualize these things. And even early on. So, one of the biggest ones I can think of was my career. I started my career as an HR business partner. And how I got into HR was a whole happenstance anyway. It was like someone was doing it and I said I would do it too. I always liked the training part. So when you're in HR, depending on the size of the company, they would always could use some help training. So my very first company, they were doing a prevention of sexual harassment training, and I set up the room and I gave out the workbooks, and I just was hooked on learning training, but I never thought I could have a career in it. Just didn't think it. I was not trained in it and stuff. I could just help out. Went to the second company, did the second same thing. Oh, I can do a training if you need it. I was still a business partner. Third company, same thing. Much bigger learning department. At the third company, my husband had started a company of his own, and he was working around the clock, just hard. And I said, "Are you okay? I want to make sure your balance is okay." He said, "Yeah, it's fine." He goes, "I love it." He goes, "But I love what I'm doing." And Jonathan, it was like he held a mirror up to me. And from the top of my head to the tip of my toes, I just felt a feeling. I said, "Do I love what I do?" And the answer was no. I don't hate it. I don't love it. It was indifferent. And I'm like, I want to love it. I want to love it. And I said, well, what do I love? This is all in that moment. Said, I love learning and development. I love it. I love training and I love teaching, and I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. Now, at the bigger company, I didn't even volunteer because they had a very sophisticated, robust L&D organizational development department. I'm like, I'm not even qualified to hang their coat. Next day, Monday, I went in and I said, can I help out with the training and development? I used to do it before. Maybe I can help you. Like, yes, all departments, especially in that area, a little shorthanded. So I did some small stuff. And in the meantime, I was learning and I was upskilling. I was trying to soak it in as much as I could. And I did more and more and more. Nothing came off of my plate, by the way. And I said to them, could I put in my title? Because now I've been doing more of this. I go, can I put HR business partner and L&D? They said, sure. And I'm like, I hit it. I hit the jackpot. I can actually put that I work in L&D on my resume. I will never lead it. I will never be, but I can maybe get a job in it. So I kept doing that. And the head of L&D for this business left. And I went to the VP of HR and I said, I know you're probably thinking of replacing her with the same title, but if you give me the chance, I will not let you down. And she said, I know who I want to put into place, and I'm looking at him. And I was like, oh my God. It was still a split role, though. They said, we still need you to keep the functions as a business partner, but you can head, you can do the leadership work. So I was like, oh my God, and never thought I could even do that because I wasn't technically skilled. So I did more and more, and I had ideas, and I think I made some improvements. And then I said, I think I want to do this full time and I don't want to do the business partner thing anymore. It's draining me. It's too much. And she said, okay. So I became the head of L&D for this business, just the business, but I became the head of L&D and I'm like, I can't believe it. And then my next company, I was the global head, 15,000 people of learning and development. And I never thought I could do it. I didn't go to school for it. I just put it out there. All I wanted was a signature in my email. And then all of a sudden, I'm the vice president of all this. It just happened like that. It has happened many times. But let me just go under the hood of this because it goes deeper than that. The world around me was showing me this when I was a kid. There were crumbs there all over the place. When I worked at McDonald's, I was a crew person. I took the orders and then I became a trainer. This is how much fries you put in. This is you fill the drink up to this line. I did that for years and years. Then I waited tables. I was a server, just like you. Everybody should be a server, by the way. Uh,
I agree. Yes.
and treat your servers kindly. And I became a trainer there. And I also did an open house to get summer. I did some recruiting to get summer help. But I became a trainer. Nobody, not even me, connected the dots. And by the way, when I was at McDonald's, there was an HR person that came and she seemed nice and she took surveys. And I'm like, oh, I like to do what she does. I didn't even know what she did. Go back further. I used to play school and my pillows were the desks. And I would make an attendance sheet from the names for the phone book and I would play school teacher. So John, it was always there. The world showed me it. I did not pay attention. So in my book, I talk about what was shown to you before that. And if you have kids, help them pull that thread. It was always there. And then I set the attention and I just feel like everything just started to move with me in that direction. And it's in my personal life, similar things have happened when I said, okay, this is what it is, and this is what I want. It just feels like you go, and this is the world will give you signals. Oprah Winfrey calls them whispers. I call them nudges. It's all the same thing. You have to be open to it. I didn't see that. Oh, learning. I would have went to school for that. I would have my college degree would have been in L&D or organizational psychology, but I didn't know. I found it out later once I connected the dots. So sorry that was a little bit long-winded, but it really, you have to look at the history before and after. That was really, you said it, you do the work, things happen to move you there. I truly, truly believe that.
I agree with you 100% because with me, I've always had the passion. Well, first off, I love that your husband was doing clearly what he loved, even though it looked like chaos to you, but he loved it. And it probably, and I say this a lot to clients, if you're loving what you're doing, it's not going to always feel like work because you're enjoying what you're doing. And it's how I initially got into even podcasting 5 years ago was this is fun. I like doing this. I will admit now is actually even more fun because I'm getting to interview. And I have to say, some people might think it's maybe a little bit more work. I find it easier because I get to reach out and have these amazing conversations with so many different people, and like you and I have chatted about this, like with everyone across the world. I never thought that was going to happen.
Amazing.
But I knew that it was the right time, it was the right topic, it was the right, I would say the right niche, the right everything was falling into place that I was like, okay, I'm going to do this because my goal to have a podcast came about last September. I mean, it's almost, it's like a year that it took me to really, it is hard to believe it's a year later and I've interviewed so many people. Like I told you, I'm about to hit my goal. Obviously, when this comes out, I will have surpassed my goal on downloads. I haven't even, it's funny to me that I didn't even have a goal of subscribers. And yet it's mind blowing. But I know that the podcast is obviously a little blip of what I do because I love the coaching. I
Yeah.
love being able to have and share and help my clients find their passion, find their purpose. Because when you're doing what you really want to, you're to throw it back into the kindness aspect, you're going to be kind. You're going to be enjoying because you're enjoying, you're loving what you're doing.
Hmm.
And when you're not and you're just grinding in and day out, I mean, in my opinion, as a coach, you need to look really quickly and find something that's going to give you that peace and that joy. Now, it's not always going to happen 100%, but especially just throwing in the LGBTQ plus factor in it, you need to be where you can, the authenticity, the inclusion is there where you
Hmm.
want to work and where you are working. Because if it's not, changes need to happen. Because, and I know, and I've said this, and I will continue to say this on, I feel like it's been brought up on every single episode I've recorded so far with interviews, is that even if you can't be 100% yourself, you obviously have to know the company, the culture, what's there. But if you, as long as you're able to be the true authentic version of what you want to be at home, at least you should have that support there, that you can at least, that if you have issues at work, at least you have someone or somebody or a group of friends or whoever it might be, family, that you can go back to and
Right.
get that comfort, hopefully get that kindness, that empathy, that what they will share with you because of your ability to be that authentic self. Also, you probably would agree with this, Jamie, is that when you get to be your authentic self, you strive as an employee
Hmm.
because you're comfortable in your own skin. And so you're going to speak up in a meeting. You're going to look towards wanting to be maybe a manager, a director, some type of leadership role because you're so excited about you get to be who you are.
Hmm. Yes.
And I mean, I would say it's showing that you are, I mean, just what you just shared shows you were number one, a leader from the get go, that you were going to be where you are today because of the simpleness of even in your bedroom doing the little classroom. I mean, that's hilarious, but it's so insightful because you're right. It was there. It showed that this is where you want eventually to get to be. And I think that's amazing. That that's just so awesome.
Thank you. You know, it's so funny you mentioned that because I was in a room facilitating not too long ago. And I don't know, I think it was because I knew we were going to be speaking. Before I walked into the training room and there's all the desks and everything there, I felt this is going to sound corny, but I looked at my younger self. I said, "You ready to do this? Let's go." And I went in there and it actually gets emotional because I did right by him because now they're not pillows as desks. There are desks and there are people that have real name tags and they are not just from the phone book. So it was always there. And I love what you said about loving what you do. Don't we owe it to ourselves to at least like what we do because we
Hmm.
spend 40, 50, 60 hours a week working. And if you're not working at a
Exactly.
company, you're working at home. And you do it for 30, 40, 50 years, however you long. You owe it to yourself to love or at least really like what you do. So I love that you hit that. But yeah, I often think of that little kid who had it was velvet pillows, red ones. My mother had them on the couch and they were my desks and I had my students and I had a chalkboard too. So it
Oh,
was
even better. Yeah.
so if you're a listener, it's like, what was there for you? If you don't love what you do, go back to your first job. What did you like there? What did you not do? What did you always dream about doing? Can you pull elements of what that was and bring it into your day to day? Because you owe it to yourself to be happy and like what you do. And I think you're right, Jonathan. You are grateful and there's gratitude when you are like, I can't believe I get paid to do this stuff. And congrats to you because you are excellent at what you do. I knew this was going to be a wonderful conversation from our pre-meeting. I'm like, you're exactly where you should be because you're a great host. Yeah, little kid with the pillow desks.
All right, so let's talk about how people can take action now. And then we're going to actually go into talking about kind cards because, of
Oh,
course,
cool.
we have to.
Well,
I find them amazing. And by the way, just a little caveat, I have actually talked to people who know exactly what those are. And I
Really?
was like, yes. And I was like, that's amazing. Yeah. I don't remember who I was talking to about it, but they were like, oh, yeah, I've seen those. I know what those are. And I'm like, really? And they're like, yeah. I was like, well, I'm about to interview the person who actually created it. He's like, really, really? I was like, yeah.
Oh my
So
God, that makes me
small
so
world. So
it is a small world. Oh my God, that you just made my day with that. So yes, so what you can do now, you know, whenever you're listening to or you're driving when you get to work, you can just create a spot on an agenda or pull a team together and check in on the ways that you work. Hey, team, no team's perfect. What things do we do right? And what do we think we can do a little bit differently? And just chart it out and talk about kindness. Be like, listen, you know what? Let's talk about kindness because I think all the things that we value are about being kind to one another, right? Now, and just talk some of the things. Kindness doesn't mean we're not going to argue. It doesn't mean we're not going to step into it. Doesn't mean that we're not going to withhold our opinion. It just means that how we do it is respectful. So, what are some kind acts that we think we do well here? Boom. What do you think we could bump up a little bit? What do you think we could be better at? And then you put them on, maybe there's 6 or 8 things that show up on the spreadsheet of opportunities. And then you'd be like, okay, we've got about 10 things. We can't do all 10. Let's take a dot marker or a dot sticky. If you kind of at a facilitator, you know what I'm talking about, and you vote. Take 3 and vote on which ones you think would help move us to a better place as a team, right? Not shaming anybody, not calling anybody out, and say, let's keep our eye on and let's always be aware and keep in mind what we do well. We don't want to lose sight of that. But over here, there's 2 things that we can do differently. We can listen more, right? And we can give each other the benefit of the doubt a little bit more. So what does that look like here? So maybe it looks different. So what does giving the benefit of the doubt look like? Have the teams kind of create that? Well, it means if you're upset about an email, maybe talk to me first. Or so they get to co-create it themselves. And the great thing about this is everybody is an expert in kindness. So you don't have to ground them or give them a manual of what kindness is. You can just jump right into it. We're taught kindness as a little kid. Say hi to the new kid, share your sandwich if they forgot their lunch. It's not different at work. Say hi to your new colleague, and if they forgot their lunch, split yours with them. Right? Same thing. So we all know what it is. So I would use some talking points to ground them what it is and what it's not and why it's important. And a lot of it could be like, we're doing this because I care about your employee experience. On a Sunday night or whatever night before you have to come here, I want you to be happy to come to work. So your experience is important to me. And I think if we're kinder, that can help. So let's talk about what it is, what it's not, and what does it look like on this team. Easy.
I
Just got to
love
make it
that.
fun.
It's funny to say, I was noting like the timing of where this is and on this episode. I'm like,
Mhm.
I want to share just that clip alone, just because that's so amazing. And so many people in work environments could really take this into action and put
Right.
this onto their teams. But let's be real, listeners, everyone, you need to listen to the entire episode. I'm just going to say.
Totally, listeners. Come on.
Totally have to listen to the whole thing. But
Right.
so let's talk about kind cards.
Kind cards.
What
Well,
inspired you to start them and how do they work?
okay. Love that. So in 2020, I left Philips after 14 years and it was an amazing run, but all the executive roles were pretty much in Amsterdam. I started in the middle of a pandemic. Why not firm jobs? So
Of
I
course.
Yeah, like let's just, throw it in. I'm gonna go after I felt safe and loved for 14 years. I'm gonna go to this other company. And I was supposed to be the head of learning and talent management for again, go back to I never thought I could even get a job in it. And for about 14, 15,000 employees. So it was a big role, biggest role I ever had in that space. In the course of my interviews, I was asking them who the culture and inclusion person is because I need to meet with them as our work ties very closely to one another. And I want to make sure that we're were aligned, they said that they didn't have one. And they asked me eventually if I would take it on. So these are now three jobs, talent management, learning, and now culture and inclusion. It was never my aspiration, Jonathan, to take this role. That was not in my little secret or putting it out to the universe. Never wanted it. Was an ally, a champion, never saw myself doing it, but I took it on. And I really had to study what is culture. And we talked a little bit about it earlier, what it is, what it's not, why
Mhm.
it's so different, over here than over there. And I came to the realization after studying it and watching people, I was even watching teams more and more in what causes upsets and what cause positive interactions. And it hit me, like I said, the biggest driver by large and far, it is how we are treated by the people we work for and with. And I'm like, okay, so if that's the case, what's the remedy? And I'm like, kindness. Empathetic leadership doesn't always land with everybody.
Hmm.
You doesn't always land or resonate with people. Kindness does, for the reasons we outlined not too long ago. So I said, well, kindness is a skill. Talk about that. Some people better than others. Let me go research a tool that will upskill and enhance our kindness skills. So I looked for it. It was nowhere. There was nothing. There was no training tool on kindness at work. So I said, okay, I wrote an article maybe 5 months later, a year later or something. No, it was a year later actually, called The Compassionate Culture Being Kinder at Work. So it's been on my mind. And 5 months after that article came out, the idea for kind cards hit me out of the blue on a Saturday when I was letting my dog out. And I just said, I looked up and I said, of course, yes, it makes sense. And there's a side story there really quick about intention and what the world shows you. So I was in Florida at the time. I split my time between Boston and Florida. And I said, well, you're going back up north in May. You've got 2 months to write them. So I wrote them. But in that time that I went outside to take my dog, I knew what it was going to be. I knew there was going to be 52. I knew they would have content. I knew there would be reflection questions. I knew there would be 2 wild cards. And I knew that within 45 minutes. So fast forward, I wrote them and I had editors check for ableist language. I want to make sure they were inclusive as possible. We pre-sold them and then I sold out. They're fully in stock now, but companies bought them. I was striking a chord. Companies, I think my first firm was for 550 and 550 went out the door. I'm now fully stocked. Now, what is happening is because DE&I is in the crosshairs, people are using these cards kind of as a bridge to keep those values, most of those values, not all of it, but
Hmm.
those values alive. It is kind to include, right? It's kind to make sure everybody's voice is being heard, all that stuff. It's kind to respect our different backgrounds and ethnicities. So it's also striking a chord there. Now, the box of cards is 52 of them, and the intention is you pull one a week 50, in a year, and you look for ways to be kind. Like, oh, this one says apologize. Is there anybody I need to apologize to? And it tells you how to apologize. And sometimes there are suggested scripts, and I use my mom's name. And my mother is on the other end of some uncomfortable conversation sometimes, but it's my way to honor her. She loves it. And you use it and you use the content and you reflect on it. And if you don't need to apologize to somebody that week, pick another card. I also have a playbook on ways you can use them with leaderships. What 5 cards do you do well at that serve your team? What 5 cards do you think you could do better at that serve your team? That exercise I outlined earlier, you can use the cards for that. Pick the cards that we do well, icebreakers, I'll use campaigns, ching situations. There's a whole host of reasons, but just really quickly, if you look in my history, cards were there. I remember I was partnering with Beverly Kay, my mentor, my friend. Google her. She's best-selling author in our space. She's 81, still doing her thing, and we were working with her, and she had a deck of cards to help with career. Skills I like, skills I don't like, skills I need to
Oh,
develop. I'm like, oh my God, I locked onto those cards. This is years ago, 10 years ago plus. Then I went to get more certification in coaching, and I went to Richard Nodell's workshop. He had his own cards. I didn't know Bev and Richard knew each other. I said, Bev has cards. He goes, yeah, we borrow from each other. We lift, and he had cards, and he had a notebook. When I wrote my book, I created my own deck of cards. So I borrowed from both of them. Maybe 5, 6 years later, Richard Nodell, who has since passed, was looking to sell his card business. And I looked to buy it. My husband was doing the due diligence and I wanted the workshops, not just the cards. And I'm like, this is it, Jonathan. This is what the world showed me. And it all led me to buying his business. This is it. Well, the numbers didn't work and we passed. I'm like, Jesus, I'm like, that was it though. I thought that was what the world brought me to. So that was about 5, 7 years ago. I love cards as a teaching tool. So when the idea hit me, kind cards, with knowing my cards, I was like, of course. It wasn't like, what's kind cards? I was like, makes total sense, universe. Got it. And now we've got them and people, want kind cards for kids, kind cards for teachers. I'm like, I'm not there yet, but I will be one day. So I'm just very grateful that people are buying them. And you thrilled me when you said you knew people who knew what they were. So I'm just so grateful that I'm helping people be kinder at work and hopefully they're having a better experience at work and not enduring a job that may not be ideal for them, but now it's better. So that's what it's about. I have a day job. This is my passion project. And yes, I wanted to do well, but if I'm helping people be kinder and making sure people are happier at work, that is golden for me.
I love that. I love that your passion project is your side, but you also love that you love what you're doing
Mhm.
as your job. So it's like a win-win.
Yes.
You have that passion on both sides of what you get to do for fun. I wouldn't say maybe for fun. I mean, but you created something that is so perfect. Oh my goodness.
You.
It's just it's I love that you actually even added in wild cards. I find that kind of funny
They're
just
about self-prime.
because of someone who I love playing cards. I feel like we're of a generation that's probably playing probably maybe a little bit more on like actual cards compared to some of the younger generations. But like my mom still plays like cards. Like we're like home around the holidays, we play cards because that's that's what we just love to do. But yeah, I love how the process came about, and I love that you use your mom's name, and that's it's a great it's a tribute to your mom, but it's also it's fun because I'm sure people probably I mean I'm sure she obviously you said she loves it and I'm sure she gets a kick out of it. And but I love oh my gosh, like I when I mentioned it, I don't remember even where I mentioned it, but when they said, "Oh, I know what those are," and I was like, "Wait, what?"
Love that.
I didn't know what they are, but now after reading a little bit about after you and I first spoke, I was like, oh my gosh, these are amazing.
You're
These
sweet.
are perfect. Everyone, I'm sorry, I'm going to say this to 100%. Every company should have these. Every restaurant should have them. Every, like you said, you're working like eventually like for like younger, like
Mhm.
teachers should have them. Kid, it's a great tool. I will admit as a kid, I loved like flashcard doing type
Yes.
things like that. That was just something that helped me learn. Now, part of it, I think it helped me learn was because I was hugely visual. I loved visual.
Mhm.
For me to read something, but you
Right.
put in a picture in there, or you can show me it in some way visually, I'm golden. I got it. And it's probably why I eventually got into photography because I love taking photos. I love capturing images and then sharing it. And my mom, love her, she keeps wanting me to do different types of gifts that I could give that have like photos that I've taken that are on them. Now, I'm not saying I still can't because
Right.
never say never, but I then would have to dig into my massive library of photos that I've taken over the years
Mm.
or truthfully, what I really can do, which I'm hoping to do anyways, is going up into the mountains here and capturing just some amazing photos because we are very close to leaves changing. And
Mhm.
it is hands down one of my absolute favorite times of the year. I will admit, living in Colorado, to be able to see the many different varieties of trees and different species and how the leaves change and the colors they go to. It's so beautiful and it's just something that even no matter where you live, if, hopefully any listeners, if you live in an area where leaves can change, you need to just enjoy that beauty.
It
And
is.
it's
I'm up in New England, and there will be. I can already see a little bit of it happening. It happens. Seems like Labor Day comes and the leaf starts to turn a little bit. But no, we got to take. I love my mom too, and why some of the cards have suggested scripts is because sometimes you just need that one line to open the conversation, and then you're good. You just need that one line. But
Mhm.
I love what you said about the flashcards and visionary because I kind of like made them. The reason why I didn't write a book instead is because we're kind of like a TikTok society now. Quick fix of information. And
Yep.
there's emojis on them that help represent what the card is. And there's content. And I love the card. You can take it with you. Some people at companies post it outside their door so they know this is the one I'm working on, but you
Oh,
can
that's
carry it
awesome.
with you to a meeting. I'm learning so much from the people that are sharing what they're doing with them. I didn't even think about that. But I love it. I love I play card. I still play cards with my husband. We play this card called Nickels. We play it's you know Nickels. I love it.
I've heard of
Um,
Nichols, yeah.
it's great. So I agree with you, but I just wanted to do something different. And again, I just want to help out where people where they can be and teach people how to be a little bit kinder. Because when you're a little kinder, I think you're happier. Because people kind of are happier with you. So you know,
I agree. I've loved these questions and such great answers. I know the audience is loving what you've been saying. But now
Okay.
What I always do with all of my guests is I have my rapid fire questions. I always have to put this little line side note in here because it keeps happening more and more. Think of whatever comes to your head first.
Mm,
You don't need to think about too much on it. As
okay.
much as I love editing and cutting out dead air,
Yes.
I like to also get right to the point. Now, the funny
Okay.
thing is, I do leave some of the dead air. So, any of you watching, probably if Jamie and I pause for too long, you're going to probably you'll just see that break. I haven't become an expert in video editing yet. And I say yet because I'm not saying I'm great at all the audio editing for podcasts, but I'm getting there. It's
You're
taken some time, but it's a learning
right.
experience, and I love to learn. All right. So, what's one act of kindness that you've received that you'll never forget?
When my manager told me that she saw the person that was going to take the seat and it was me. She took a chance on me.
Awesome. Okay. If kind cards had a theme song, what would it be?
Express Yourself, Madonna. That's the first thing that came to mind. I love that song. I love her. I did the report on her when I was in the Woman of Psychology class. So yeah, Express Yourself.
Nice. All right. Coffee, tea, or something else entirely.
Diet Mountain Dew. I
All
don't
right.
drink coffee or tea.
So you were on a reality show.
I
If
was.
you could go on any reality show now, which one would you pick?
Okay, I'm going to give you my first answer, but it's not my final one because I'm watching Bachelor in Paradise and the guys are so handsome, but I'm married, so that wouldn't be it. I think that I would want to go on the Housewives ones.
Nice.
I
I love
really
that. All right. So as we wrap up, Jamie, what's one piece of wisdom you hope sticks with our listeners about the power of kindness at work?
keep it front of mind. Keep it front of mind. It's almost like you got your keys, you got your phone, you got your jacket. I'm going to have the intention to be kind today. Just keep it front of mind. It will serve you so well and it will serve others and it makes you feel good.
Awesome. Well, so before we close out, listeners, I've got something special. If Empowered and Out has been speaking to you, maybe helping you feel seen, less alone, or more fired up to own your path, I'd love to invite you into something deeper. Over on Patreon, we are building a space for LGBTQ plus professionals who want more. And that more is early access to every episode, bonus content you won't hear anywhere else, a voice in shaping future episodes, and a real community of folks on this journey with you. This isn't just a podcast, it is a movement. It's a chosen family, and you belong here. Head to the show notes, or you can visit patreon.com/empowered and out podcast. Let's keep rising together. So, Jamie, thank you for bringing this conversation to life. You've shown us that kindness isn't just something that we do when it's convenient, it's something that can completely reshape how we work, lead, and show up for each other.
Jonathan, I can't thank you enough for creating such a welcoming, warm space. I love what you're doing. I'm a listener. I'm going to keep listening, and just thank you for doing what you do for all of us. You are elevating our us as a tribe, and thank you for that. You're great at what you do.
Well, thank you, and you're very welcome. So, listeners, if you're listening right now, or I guess technically if you're watching, and you're thinking, I want more of this in my workplace, you can go over to getkindcards.com to learn more about Jamie's work and get your own kind cards. You can also follow him on Facebook, Instagram, X, TikTok, and LinkedIn at Get Kind Cards to see how kindness is transforming workplaces everywhere. I almost said Twitter. I'm very proud of myself
I
that I
still
said
say
it.
Twitter.
I still say it when I say it, but I'm very proud of myself.
You did great. You did great.
And of course, if you found value in today's conversation, share this episode with a colleague, post your favorite takeaway online, and tag both of us. Let's keep this movement going because when kindness becomes the standard, everybody wins. And don't
Mm.
forget, if this episode resonated, share it with someone you love, leave a review, and hit that follow button so you can never miss an episode of Empowered and Out. So until next time, stay empowered, stay out, and keep building the life and career that reflects all of who you are and lead with kindness every step of the way.